What is up YouTube? It's Kingfisher745. And in this video we're going to take a look at Gambit in PvP with his character specific ISO. I think this one should establish that in the right situation, Gambit can be an absolute monster. But before we begin, I do want to thank Agent Seraph One, who in part helped bring you this video. So let's hear it for him. Okay, so as we get into the action, I first want to talk about the ISO that I was referring to. In Season 2, Chapter 1, Mission 1, you can find the Pilfered E-ISO. This is in the Heroic Battle, and it's going to grant him a card stud. Gambit may gain 8 stacks of kinetic charge. Next we have the High Card A-ISO from Season 2, Chapter 1, Mission 6. And this grants his Ace of Spades High Card. This attack now becomes stealthy and applies flanked. We'll come back to that in just a moment, but first we are using the Mark of the Brotherhood. With the Quickie ISO on my agent, this becomes a quick action, and it's going to grant morale boost, rally, as well as brothers till the end to both of my mutant teammates. This becomes exceptionally good when used with Angel, as you're about to find out. After the Mark of the Brotherhood, we're going to use the Fire Tornado to exhaust the enemies. Unfortunately, after using this, we will get countered by Kurth. But as our final action, we're going to go ahead and use the Mystic on the enemy agent. The Mystic obviously gives us Mystic Shroud, but it also places obsolete tech. And the reason we're mostly concerned with hitting the agent with that is because we don't want him to get rid of our Rising Up buffs, and also because Gambit's kinetic charges can be removed, unfortunately. But speaking of Rising Up buffs, Angel's level 1, which is an attack, but also a buff, becomes a quick action because of Rally. So we get to use Absolution, that heals us because of the Sympathetic E-ISO, then we can use Rapture, and the reason we're using this is so we can give Gambit 2 attacks in a row. Now this is finally going to wrap up his ISO and the team up as a whole. So as I explain this, I think it becomes pretty clear why Gambit can turn into a monster. He could potentially be good with his ISO even on a normal setup, let's just say. However, when you give him back-to-back turns, especially if he already has kinetic charges, then you can make sure that the enemy has flanked with his quick action stealthy level 2. After that, you can use his bow roulette, and then because of flanked, he's going to follow it up with, you guessed it, a second bow roulette. Then with his second turn of his back-to-back, you could either throw out 7 to 8 Ace of Spades, all as quick actions, or you could unleash a Ragin Cajun. That ability can do a ton of damage. Oh, and actually I should say you may not have 7 to 8 charges, it's going to depend. But typically he does get quite a few. As the tooltip says, you get 2 to 4 per attack. So there it was, we debated throwing a few cards, but instead, with our 7 kinetic charges, we're going to hit Kurth with a Ragin Cajun. Non-crit and without strengthened, we did a lot of damage. Plus our follow-up attack finished her and gave us some more kinetic charges. So it's actually not a bad thing if you don't finish them with the first hit, because the bow roulette's going to give you some charges back. Most of the time though, if you do have buffs and charges, you're going to easily take down the enemy. In fact, with 4, we're going to go ahead and knock out Havoc right now. So this wasn't a bad first match, but the opponents are only going to get tougher. Moving on to fight number 2. In this one, we're taking on Gnaw and Pestilence Beast. But more impressive, they have around 25k health. This match could get kind of crazy, but it should be a nice test. We of course begin with our level 1, and then Stun pops up, yet he still uses Warm Zephyr. You may be wondering, well, how did he get stunned in the first place? It's because we're using the Knocking A-ISO on Gambit's level 1. That's fine, but he did use the Blackest Void, so he took away our kinetic charges. Plus, there probably was a reason for it, and it most likely will come to us later. With our agent, after exhausting them, we're going to use the Mark of the Brotherhood, and then we're going to finish with the Blackest Void. That of course is to shut down Null's preemptive counter. After this, the World Breaker is almost completely taken out of the battle, at least for now. And that disoriented debuff doesn't hurt either. That is, as Beast drops a Jekyll and Hyde on his own agent. Now let me tell you one thing about Rapture, it is an unarmed attack, and often the enemy agent's using the Hugin's Eye. So it may not land, but that's unfortunately the risk you have to take. Regardless, Angel's still going to be an awesome team up for Gambit. But he's also not the only one. In fact, we're going to explore another team up in the final battle of this video, and then we'll most likely revisit Gambit at some point in the future. Alright, well we did hit our own teammate on that turn, but the more damaging Absolution did find its mark. Then of course, as expected, Null used You're Not Worthy, and so his turn was pretty much worthless. And they call him worthy. Sadly, on Gambit's turn we don't have any charges because of the Blackest Void. So we use the bow Roulette, and it hits our own agent. Thankfully, we still get 3 charges for that. So now I'm going to try to flank the entire enemy team starting with Null. The first hit was good, so on to the agent. Alright, so we hit him as well. And now for Beast. Okay, so 2 out of 3 isn't that bad. Then since the agent's flanked, we'll use a bow Roulette, and we get another bow Roulette. Because of that amazingness, we're going to be set up for a pretty big hit once it comes back to Gambit's turn. Oh, but they are using the Hotshot, so hopefully we don't get stunned. See, there it goes again. It says my agent was stunned. But, well, at least in this case, it was probably because of Rapture that we got another turn. Either way, I'm happy about it. So let's go ahead through all our quick actions. And this is going to take quite a while. Still, after all this, I'm hoping we can finish off the enemy agent with a Mystic and a flanked follow-up. I have to say, that would be pretty ideal. Well, after using the Fire Tornado and making sure that the enemy team is exhausted, we're going to give Agent Steadfast our best shot. Even if we don't get him, I still think his dots are going to be enough. But let's not even leave it up to that. Here goes nothing. Well, the first hit is pretty weak, and the Brawl leaves him at 868. Talk about a close call. That's pretty unfortunate. But like I said, his dots will definitely finish him. Okay, well there was a massive round of no turns there, and so we'll use the Improbability Field, followed by the Fire Tornado and the Mark of the Brotherhood. I have to admit, I'm a little bit bummed out that Gambit had to skip his turn, but hopefully he still gets the final hit. I do want to tell you the next match is a must-see. I know you've all been waiting to see Kurth and Null, and most importantly Gambit taking them down, so in that one you'll get your wish. But first, let's see what Pestilence Beast does, and then watch Angel because he may surprise you as well. Because of his AISO, his level 1 has Finest Hour. It's also a quick action because of Rally, and it gives him Rising Up. So he essentially buffs himself and does more damage each time. At this point, he's pretty set up. So let's go ahead and use that Absolution on Null, and it non-crits for 14,000 damage. Not too bad from the non-Horseman Angel. And then since he gets another attack, why not drop 13,000 on Pestilence? Luckily, this leaves him barely alive for our Gambit to use a Ragin Cajun. And just watch this damage. Now that's what I was talking about. Gambit is no joke. I also think he's really fun to use. I just wish he would get an ult of some sort. Perhaps the Horseman of Death. Let me know what you would think about that in the comment section below. By the way, when the Horseman costumes were first announced, I mentioned to them on Twitter that they should make Horseman of Death Gambit, but they unfortunately said that wasn't in the plans. But maybe if we requested it enough, then they would go ahead and give us what we want. We can only dream. But hey, just like I said, here we go against a Kurth and Null team, and I call this one the Desolation of Smaug. Okay, well that was unfortunate. They used an early Fear Me. But with Gambit, we're going to use his bow Roulette, and I'm debating hitting the enemy agent, but they do have a very vicious counter. So let's go ahead and hit Null instead. He's exhausted right now, so he's not a huge threat, but still. We hit him, and he gets stunned because of the knocking AISO. So that worked out pretty well in our favor. Then the reason we're using Cable was because of that Temporal Shift. So we ended up giving Gambit another turn. And with Cable's turn, we'll try to hit Null as well. Sadly, we take a Cower proc. However, Gambit with a few charges can go ahead and flank the enemy agent, and I suppose we'll go after Null. We're really picking on the Worldbreaker right now. But we didn't flank him, so I'm going to use a bow Roulette on Smaug. And of course we get our follow-up attack. That netted us 5 kinetic charges and their counter misses. Unfortunately, and this is really deflating, they use the Blackest Void. So now we've lost all our charges. That certainly doesn't help us out. And this team of course is no joke. So that's a serious setback. Alright, well the Light Fantastic will get rid of Disoriented. And it also gives us Mirror Reality. Then after that I'm going to use Momentary Advantage, followed by the Fire Tornado, and a few attacks from our Mystic. With these attacks I'm going to go after the enemy agent, even though they're doing a ton of damage with their counter. Fortunately that first one heals us because of Mirror Reality. Otherwise I would probably be more scared to even hit them with the Mystic, even though they do have flanked. We do manage to drop them below 5k health, but there's that counter again. It's an absolute certainty at this point. I still went for it though because I figured we had them knocked out. But we missed both hits from the Brawl, and they live with 144 HP. Now talk about terrible luck. Then to make things worse, Gambit was hit with Love Me. And this of course means he's going to hit himself whenever he attacks a worthy. Oh, but we don't have to worry about that because he uses a bow roulette on my agent. Now this is what happens all the time against Kurth and all. You have them completely beaten, and then just crazy stuff happens to your team. But you know what? We will not lose. We're going to go ahead and flank Null with Cable, and we will take a bow roulette because of that. Fortunately though, we dodged. The enemy agent dies to dots, and then on our turn we can go ahead and use Warm Zephyr to heal, followed by the Improbability Field. The enemies are immune to all sorts of things, but it's still worth using, and it may even give our team a heal. After that I'm going to go ahead and use the Mystic on Null, even though it's going to provoke our own Gambit to hit us. He is flanked, so we're going to get the Mystic plus a Brawl, so I think it's worth it. By the way, at this point Gambit does have 3 stacks of kinetic charge. Oh, and he misses our agent, so hey, that's fine with us. Then after his Ace in the Hole proc, he goes up to 4 charges. By the way, that comes from his passive wildcard, which says, chance to assist when an ally attacks or is attacked, and grants 1 kinetic charge. With that charge, we flank Spider-Woman, and then we're going to use Bow Roulette on Null. This also means if he does live, we'll get a follow-up Bow Roulette. Unfortunately, we take him down. Well, I guess it's no big deal because we have 7 stacks of kinetic charge. And so with Cable, we'll grant Gambit another turn with Temporal Shift, and we'll set Kurth up for that knockout blow. A Scanny Arts plus a Plasma Rifle was going to do more than enough damage to place her within range of a Ragin Cajun. So with 8 stacks of kinetic charge, here goes our level 6. And it easily drops Kurth. So there you have it. Gambit the monster. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video, so I want to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Then until next time, good luck and take care.